It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of May 28th, 1999. We only got two movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant in the romantic comedy Notting Hill.
That's my favorite movie star.
On June 18th, the world's most famous actress and an ordinary shopkeeper come together for the most unlikely romance of the year.
Look good.
Julia Roberts,
Anytime I've tried anything normal, it's just been a disaster.
Hugh Grant,
I live in Notting Hill, you live in Beverly Hills.
I'm also just a girl standing in front of a boy, asking him to love her.
Notting Hill. This film is not yet ready.
So this is a story you've pretty much seen over and over again. Two people meet. The big difference is that the two people meeting, one is a British bookseller who doesn't really have much of an identity to him. He's pretty much a nobody. And then this famous American actress, played by Julia Roberts, comes into his shop, and they eventually build a romance together. And this is something that's actually been the influence for a couple different things. One notably, the TV series I'm With Her, which ran for about a season on ABC, was really good, and I was ashamed that it didn't last too long. It was kind of in that middle between when ABC had all those family comedies like Life with Bonnie, Eight Simple Rules, Less Than Perfect, which wasn't really a family comedy, but they were trying to establish a comedy block, and that was in there. And like I said, it only lasted one season, unfortunately, but it was actually a pretty fun show all the way through. This is a fun concept overall. It's one that we've seen done to death. You know kind of exactly where it's going to go, but this is when I talk about the things like, yeah, you can have a predictable story, a predictable plot, a predictable setup, but if you have good writers and good actors to make it work, it'll make up for it in the end. And, you know, you got Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant, and their chemistry together is just top-notch. And the writing of Richard Curtis, who did Four Weddings and a Funeral before this, and this is directed by Roger Michell, who, let me see what, I can't remember if he did something. Well, he did a couple other notable movies after this. Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson. He did Morning Glory with Harrison Ford and Rachel McAdams. He did a very underrated Bill Murray film, Hyde Park on Hudson, with Bill Murray as Franklin Roosevelt, which is a phenomenal film. If you haven't seen that one, definitely check that one out. But he's a really good director. He's made a lot of good stuff, and like I said, it is a very generic story. Honestly, we've seen this done over and over again, But it's a fun fantasy too. I mean, let's be honest. We've all had that fantasy of meeting somebody, and that person turns out to be a celebrity, and you want to be in a relationship with them. I mean, I know I've had my fair share of dreams of that happening. I'm sure you folks out there have too, or maybe I'm the crazy one. But be honest with yourselves. You've had that fantasy before. But here's a movie that just basically shows you what that would be like in a comedy like this, and the writing overall is very funny, and it also has a good cast overall with Hugh Bonneville and Rhys Ifans in this film as well, having a lot of good moments in here. And like I said, the story is not really all that new or anything creative, but as long as you have something that really is well done and has actors and a director, a writer that can make it work in its own unique way, then it works out in the end. But sure enough, this thing did work out for itself in the end. It was one of the big hits of the year, one of two hits for Julia Roberts in 1999. We'll get to the other one when we get to Runaway Bride. But this one's definitely the best of the two films. I mean, this is really a solid film, an overall enjoyable film overall. It's a great romantic comedy, a fun little romantic comedy. I really like it a lot. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. You might actually be pleasantly surprised by it. Even if you're not the biggest rom-com person, you can still find a lot to appreciate about this film. So that is Notting Hill, so let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is The 13th Floor.
Scientists have created a portal to a simulated universe.
I think one of them units crawled up an extension cord and killed its maker.
But what they couldn't anticipate
It's all about it. Murder.
is that the experiment
This is a mistake. These people are real.
would have a mind of its own. The 13th Floor,
You could call it the end of the world.
rated R, opens everywhere May 28th.
So the story here is you have this computer scientist who's discovered something extremely important. He's about to tell the discovery of to his colleague, but knowing something is after him, the old man leaves a letter in the computer-generated parallel world his company has created, which looks like the 30s, with seemingly real people with real emotions. The scientist is then eventually murdered in a real world the same night, and his colleagues is suspected. And Douglas discovers a bloody shirt in his bathroom, and he cannot recall what he was doing the night Fuller was murdered. So he logs into the system in order to find the letter, but has to confront the unexpected. The truth is harsher than he could ever imagine. This has the potential to be somewhat of an interesting idea. It has a pretty decent mostly unknown cast at the time. I mean, not a lot of people knew who Craig Bierko was. Not a lot of people knew who Gretchen Mol was, or people knew who Vincent D'Onofrio was. And Dennis Haysbert. This was a couple years before he became the president on 24. Alison Lohman's also in here. One of her early film roles, Shiri Appleby, Armin Mueller-Stahl. So there's a decent amount of names in here. There is a good idea to the film overall, but the film itself is really just a mess of a film. This is one of those Roland Emmerich produced films. This is based off of a novel and a miniseries of the same name. A novel called Simulacron 3, and then the miniseries was called Wool on a Wire. And it just felt like it was lost in the middle of all these other different sci-fi films, stuff like The Matrix, and Star Wars: Force Awakens, that'd be a different thing altogether. Star Wars: The Phantom Menace coming out around the same time. So this was going to get lost in the shuffle regardless, and it's not a bad-looking film visually, and also kind of is reminiscent to what David Cronenberg was trying to do earlier in the year with Existence, which I guess was a fine film overall, but there was a lot of potential in here. Just a lackluster script, of a confusing plot that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It kind of falls into the same basic problem that a lot of original sci-fi films fail to do, is keeping your investment over the course of the movie while also trying to do something unique and different, which a lot of sci-fi films, original sci-fi films, don't really do a whole lot, unfortunately. I mean, we just had The Creator come out, which is for very much an original concept. It's not based on any IP or anything, but the biggest problem that a lot of people have with it is that it steals from a lot of stuff here and doesn't really do anything new with it. I haven't seen it myself yet, so I can't really say for certain, but I will get to it eventually. But there's potential in this movie. There was potential with the story, potential with the cast overall here. Just the potential just doesn't live up to it in the very end. It's a film that just kind of like exists and doesn't really do a whole lot to make it stand out on its own. You can definitely tell that Roland Emmerich's name is all over this movie, even though he's not the director of it nor the writer, he's just the producer of it, but it's all over this film. And it's a shame because there's a lot of potential that could have been done with this idea, but as it is, wasted potential. So that's the 13th Floor for you. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. When we meet next time, we'll only have one notable film to look at, and that is Anthony Hopkins and Cuba Gooding Jr. in Instinct. That'll be the only film we'll take a look at for next weekend. So be on the lookout for that. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. Now, coming up on Time About the Movies Flashback, we've got a ton of movies to look at on there. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, Without a Clue, Mystic Pizza, Bat 21, Things Change, Tapeheads, The Lair of the White Worm. So we have a packed show to look at on that one, and that will be coming up right after this gets updated, so stick around for that.